Alrighty, here on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, BKFC 10 is coming up February 15th. We've got a big main event bout going on, and it's between Hector Lombard and David Mundell. And I've got David on the show right now. How's your day going so far there, man?
It's going good, man.
I'm kind of curious as to who you're putting in the work with ahead of this fight though. Like what's your sort of core gym and like where you're mainly getting in your preparations, and also an extension of that, who are like the main, I guess, coaches and sparring partners you're working with.
Well, my head coach is Jeff Bailey, and then I turn to Hawk, and my other teammate Martin Brown. We've been kind of just traveling and bouncing around all over the boxing gyms and stuff, and just finding different people to move with, and of course putting a lot of work in back at the home gym at Gracie Clearwater. Nobody in particular, one person, but just lots of different looks because we don't really know what to expect coming to the fight, seeing what he's gonna put in front of us. But I know, regardless of what he brings, I'm gonna be ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a benefit to travel around and get all kinds of different looks like that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Oh, for sure, man. And you seem to have been taken well to the whole, bare-knuckle circuit and stuff like that. Like you got the stoppage over Ronnie Forney there in the first round, and then another first-round stoppage over Drew Lipton. So how's the transition been in your estimation overall? Because it seems like you're taking to it like a duck to water.
I just feel like the punches count more. Getting hit with a bare fist compared to the MMA gloves, it takes away a little bit of the pattern to where people just don't want to sit there and continue to take them. And the fact that they're not able to shoot in to get safe, a lot of fighters I noticed have trouble getting safe once they're getting punched, unless they can take you down. And when that option is taken off the table, they kind of scramble a little bit, and that's when you start to break people.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've noticed a lot of MMA fighters going into BKFC, and they seem to transition into the platform a little smoother than maybe, say, professional boxers do. And I've talked to certain fighters, and they've said that part of that is part of like the BKFC rule set. There's some time in the clinch position, and obviously MMA fighters very familiar with the clinch position there. So do you kind of agree with that sentiment? Do you maybe have like another idea as to why MMA fighters transition?
I agree that the MMA guys are having an easier time transitioning over. A lot to do with they're kind of a lot more unorthodox when it comes to like the boxing, so you're getting punched at from different angles. And the big thing that I believe plays a role is the way that you are and are not able to catch punches. Like the boxing gloves gives you more surface area. You're able to, defend yourself a little bit easier and catch, bigger gloves coming at you. But when it's a smaller point of impact, it kind of digs into little areas that, it just slips through a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, obviously with this pay-per-view, there was the initial bout schedule between, Joe Riggs and Hector Lombard and everything like that. And then Joe Riggs suffering that unfortunate injury. And I was seeing the one press release that said you weren't even scheduled on the card just a few weeks ago. So to that point, when did you initially sort of hear about the fight? Like when did the dialogue get going?
So I think it was a month from the fight. So was that like 3 weeks ago now? I believe. I had a couple other interviews, and I told them all the same thing. I just got married, and I was going to take a little bit of time off. Believe it or not, I was thinking about jumping on this card regardless because I have a teammate of mine, the Cuban assassin, fighting, who I believe is going to do very well in this fight. And so with that being said, I was, debating on whether or not to do it, but I was still taking time off. And then all of a sudden, one of them, I think it was a Monday morning, my coach had called me and he told me about this opportunity, and so I jumped all over it and jumped right back in the gym that night and started training hard. So I'll have about a month of a fight camp, so that's plenty of time to get ready, especially for these the time that we spend in these fights.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously a guy like Hector Lombard, very well known in the MMA sphere, and you obviously have the MMA efforts as I was talking about before. So what are your thoughts on getting lined up with an opponent like this? Because I mean, it's a pretty big look, so I imagine you're excited to show your skill set against an opponent like that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it because it's like one of those things. I grew up watching all the MMA fights and stuff, UFC, and I grew up watching him, knowing him, and and it's pretty cool to, making your idols, so to speak, your enemies, like that kind of dream come true type deal. But at the same time, him having a big name, it works well for me because I feel like I belong on that platform, and this gives me the chance to prove to everybody, So I'm glad that they gave me this opportunity, and I'm just super excited about it.
Yeah, it's a big look, and it being in the main event and stuff like that. But also fighting out of Florida, I imagine there's going to be that partisan support from the people in the audience and everything like that. What does that dynamic mean to you? Does stuff like that put any pressure on you? Does it galvanize your efforts and motivate you? Does it have any effect at all?
Before and after, it's great to have that the fans and everything. But during the fight, I'm just so focused on the fight. That's all kind of irrelevant at the moment. But regardless of whether they do or don't like me, after the fight, I guarantee, I'll definitely have gained a few more fans. And, of course, going into your fight camps and people pumping you up, it helps you train that much harder. It does get you going a little bit. But, at the end of it, we're here to put on a show. So we're here to, be crowd pleasers. And I'm just excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, and it seems like a great landscape now in BKFC for a lot of opportunities, like a lot of new signees coming aboard, like, Vanderlei Silva and a lot of different guys that are similar. Are there any, signees that have been popping up that kind of, obviously not overlooking Hector Lombard, but is there any new signees that are kind of, piquing your interest? Oh, yeah, someday maybe I'd like to toe the line with that guy.
Nothing jumps out at me right away, I just I take all my fights, one at a time, obviously with the main goal of becoming a champion in one of the organizations one day, so whoever they put in front of me, and I just go to work at that point and just come up, like I said, just do my thing.
That's interesting. So you'd be more so interested in capturing a title than taking fights against, say, certain big name talent, whereby there's not a title at the end of it. You'd be more interested in acquiring a belt than doing the quote unquote money fight kind of thing, if I'm understanding you right.
I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand. So I feel like if by chasing the title, that it's going to give me those big names and those money fights. As like I said, right now, I'm in a way, kind of a nobody. Not everybody knows that I'm well known in my area, of course, in the Tampa area, and it expands out from there. But just once you get that, once I'm the face of that weight class, and then people will recognize me. Then the money fights will come in, and then everything that comes with it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely get where you're coming from, but with Hector Lombard making his BKFC debut, I'm kind of wondering how you handle this fight on a preparatory level, because you can't really watch tape. I guess you could watch some MMA stand-up of his, but is this just kind of a thing where you're just kind of zeroing in on your own efforts and then just readying yourself as much as possible for whatever he does on fight night?
Exactly. I just try to put myself with people who are about his size, that hit just as hard, and I just move with them. Like I said, I don't really know what to expect. Obviously, him coming from MMA, I don't think he's going to have the level of boxing that I do. Even though I come from MMA as well, but I work with my boxing coach, since the beginning. I feel really confident in my hands. So with that being said, obviously with him, you have to watch for his power. He's a big guy, but that's something I'm going to be ready for when it comes time.
Yeah, for sure, man. It seems like you're very much locked in and focused on this fight here. But usually when I interview fighters, I ask them about music they train to, or if that's something they're into. Because I also know some fighters kind of like to replicate the conditions of fight night and train sort of in relative silence more so. Are there any genres of music you're firing off when you get the aux cord at the gym, or not so much?
Myself, with the name Redneck, I listen to a lot of country music, and then a lot of the gyms I go to, it comes down to whatever they're playing. There's times where I'll put my headphones in and I'll kind of jam out to my own stuff, but I'm open. I just like music. I like, especially when I don't dance or anything, so it's kind of funny, but when it's different when I'm working out to it. Like that's when I feel the music. That's when I'm kind of like I can get to the rhythm, like and I can move to it, and it can help push me through a workout. It can help slow my breathing down, and you just zone in on it. That's when it becomes fun. And so there's not anything in particular that I try to listen to. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a good upbeat and just good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard fighters talk about that, like the rhythmic kind of element of the songs lends itself to like certain like footwork and pacing. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you've been great with your time, man. I'm curious though if there's anything you'd like to add as a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up, though.
I would like to just thank all my fans, my sponsors. Huge shout out to Rip Life One, Legendary Tattoos, Outlaw Customs, and Florida Alternative Medicine. Fitness 360, and the list can go on, but I'm pretty sure this sounds like you're ready to go.
Oh, no, I've been having fun talking to you, man. I just want to be mindful of your time. I imagine you've gotten in a fair bit of hard training today and probably want to chill.
Every day, Monday through Saturday, sometimes even on a Sunday, just getting in what I can do.
Well, I'm sure it's going to pay dividends leading into this fight, and I mean, definitely a big one here between Hector Lombard and David Mundell. It's the main event for BKFC 10, and people can check that out on February 15th. Thanks for all the time and insights there, David. Best of luck with the rest of the preparations leading into this one, and enjoy the rest of your night as well.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.